Welcome to the Tribute Lounge. I'm Mark Fawcett.
And I'm Shane Johnson.
And today on the show, we are going to be reviewing the top 5 plus 1 all mountain snowboards.
Top 6, so we don't make the angry guy angry.
Top 5 plus 1.
Yeah, top 5 plus 1. All right. So, and in doing so, these are, you said it, all mountain snowboards, right?
Absolutely.
So our criteria for all mountain snowboards was we weren't pulling stuff off the shelf being like, Fozzie, are you going to ride this thing switch for half the run? No, not part of that criteria. This is the one board you're going to buy for the season. It's might be directional, might be twin, but it's directional.
It will have fun and be usable everywhere.
Yes, you can ride it switch.
In the park, all of them you can ride switch really well.
But it's not their intent.
No,
we didn't
ride the whole mountain.
We didn't grab a twin.
No, there's no twins in here at all. Like, if you want to be able to ride the whole mountain, most folks are riding forward, not switch, at least 80% of the time.
And our other criteria is we were going to be a little more reasonable about finances. So everything here in Canadian money is under $1,000. Nothing caps, and in fact, I think nothing even exceeds $900 Canadian. So we kept that in mind because there was a lot of discussion around this board, that board. So we needed a criteria to make this make sense for you guys. A lot of guys that are going to ride all season, they bail from their job. We know a few of these guys that plant trees all year, take off, and now they're just shredding. This is probably going to be one of the 5 boards you're looking at. Definitely for riding where we ride.
Yeah, and any one of these are, depending, pretty much a quiver killer.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
You can do everything. You can take it on a heli trip, ride your resort, side hits, ride the park, everything on this one board.
Exactly.
Or these 6 boards.
So, starting with number 1, we're going with the
Jones Mountain Twin.
So this one was kind of a no-brainer for us. Last year we had the Stratus. We almost brought that down again, but when I look at the sales of this thing in the shop, I mean, we sell so many of these boards, and with very good reason, Mark. You and I have both ridden it. This is the one that ventures into the twin territory a bit more. This is gonna ride fakie if that is something you need it to do, but it smashes POW, no problem.
Yeah, it's definitely, even though it has no taper, so the tail width is the same as the tip width, other than that aspect, it rides really well as a directional board, especially if you want to slam the bindings back on a POW day or something. Rides super well. It doesn't have that behavior of going over the nose and such like a lot of twins have when you're free riding. It's loaded with all the Jones tech, which we love.
Yep.
So traction tech,
yep.
That'd be the first thing I'd talk about is the traction tech, which really works. Gives you just more points of engagement along the edge. Makes it grab, hold on in really hard and variable snow conditions. So that's the Traction Tech 3.0. Jones has sort of 3 levels of it. So this is the most accentuated.
And that's working with the Camrock profile as well. So we're camber in the center, makes its way to about here, and then we subtly rock her out on each end. So again, riding powder, that's going to give you that nice little seesaw effect where it's just that nose is going to be up, especially if we're riding this thing
Jones does a really good job of that. I always talk about when I ride Jones boards, I feel like I'm inside the board.
Yeah, totally.
Really cool.
The Camrock works well for that. And then these bases are always reversible. So some will be black with the blue Jones, and we love that they're paying attention to the materials there. Sintered 8000, which we don't expect any less on anything Jeremy does. This is a race base. This board hauls ass.
Yep.
Wax it proper, do the thing, and it's going to treat you
fast. And then they're 3D contour, and so there's just a slight bit of, well, we used to call it spoon, but convexity at the ends.
Nose and tail.
Nose and tail, it just makes that roll happen so much easier and being less catchy.
And like a boat hull, when we hit powder, it just kind of does that as
Oh,
well,
absolutely.
right? Like it's going to bring that
Oh,
nose
it's
up.
so good.
And I love seeing it from multiple brands we carry. A lot of folks are doing this now, and it's great. This board comes in a crazy amount of sizes.
I think 12.
Yeah, hold
I think
that
there's
for a
12
sec, 'cause
sizes in this board.
we will, down below here, we will label that along with the pricing. We want to make sure that everybody knows, the pricing on these boards. Like I say, everything's sub 900 Canadian, but they're all going to live in similar. But we have, a lot of sizes in this. Wides, standards, all the way up, basically 49 to 168 wide. And everything in between that's right down there, plus the pricing.
Jones is also like really at the forefront of trying to use recycled materials and recycled from old snowboards.
Yeah, so this, the sidewall, recycled materials, sidewall, not necessarily recycled snowboard.
Yeah, they're not peeling the ABS off and sticking it back in, but they'll recycle the material and other components, and they're actually buying entire old fleets or any ones that are like getting given away from like a rental shop in Morocco, whatever. They are grabbing those boards and recycling the materials in different ways that they can.
So those cores are being stacked, compressed together, and then cut.
Yeah.
And you're seeing stringers of them show up in some of the Jones boards we have upstairs now in the line.
They're processed essentially, so it's like a new product.
So yeah, this board, I mean, for top 5+1, no brainer.
No brainer. In there, no problem. And our next board, Capita Aeronaut.
Again, I'll keep saying no brainer all day, but after I talked with Arthur about this, if you go back a couple, we've got a great interview with him and how he designed it and why he designed it. But we both ended up with one from our local rep right away, and I rode this a ton last year, especially at Turning Man. And we had POW one day, and we had Bulletproof Ice the other day, and it was still my favorite board. This thing performs, and this harkens back to some of the 90s shaping that I love, and we rode, obviously, you can see by the beards, we rode in the 90s. But this board really, it has that vibe with all the new tech that we want to see.
Yeah. I would describe it as like all the best things that we liked about those boards with none of the bad.
Yeah, totally. Directional. More directional than the
Mountain
Twin was.
Yep.
Like with all Capitas, we are dealing with one of the craziest, fastest bases ever. This is the Hyperdrive, and it's definitely on par. Everything we've picked today is pretty on par, but this one rips.
Really good bases on all these boards.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Of course, that was part of the criteria.
Yeah. So directionally speaking, this board has 5 millimeters of taper, so that's not a lot. 2.5 mils per side, but it works. One of the big things I like about this, it doesn't have crazy amounts of side cut. That's what makes it easy to like slide around.
8.6, 8.7, that's why I liked it too.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
So a straighter side cut that really cleans the ends up at your contact, what you call your contact points. And without those being so protruding, it makes it just slide slimy through places.
Well, there's 7 mils of camber, so it's not crazy, but it's there and it activates. And then we've got what would be a flat zone, not like full-on rocker, but a flat zone. So that, working with what Mark's talking about with the side cut, gives you a stability on edge that is just, makes this board probably, I'd be hard-pressed to pick between this and one other one we have coming, but it really does ride incredible, and it just edges like you wouldn't believe. It works very, very well there.
Yeah. Loved it.
Yeah.
And the next board up, the Gnu Banked Country.
So this one should be easy for Fozzie to explain, because I know why Temple would have started the design for this, and then Canon comes in, makes it probably a little more freestyle friendly, all mountain friendly, but this is a board that's chased you down the Baker Bank Slalom, I'm sure. Well, previous incarnations have. You and Temple are usually pretty up there. Another zero waste factory, and I think we didn't talk about it with the other brands, but all three so far, if you look into the factories, you look into everything these guys are doing, eco-conscious, zero waste with most of the Mervyn stuff. Go watch the Capita Mothership episode. also incredible stuff you need to know about when you're making decisions where you're going to put your money and what brand you align yourself with, so on and so forth.
Back in the day, building a snowboard was ecological disaster and bad for the humans and bad for the humans in there building them. So things have come a long, long way. The crew at Mervyn are like very respectful of that and their employees and such. Like factories rate on the water practically.
Oh yeah, that place is. It's been a few years since I've been there, but it's awesome.
Really cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so unique thing about this board. The biggest unique thing is how this board rides. This board rides a little different than all the rest of them.
It is directional.
It's directional.
But it
and
has
it's
a
something I love.
very unique side cut.
It's called
slash
progressive magnetraction. So if you're familiar with magnetraction, it's the serrated, for lack of a better word, additional contact points within the general side cut.
Up to 9 on some boards.
Yep. So what they've done with this is the first half of the board has virtually none. Like if there is a little in there, it's just the tiniest little bit.
It starts right about here.
And then as you get towards the aft of the board, they accentuate, with the biggest ones being right at the tail. So the concept, you know, Temple, of course, and Canon being surfers, they were like, we want something to engage and feel like a surfboard.
Like the fins would
like
engage
the fins
on a tail.
So the front of this board is like really free and, you know, sort of normal, nice feeling. And then the rear half, like once you start into that turn, you can push so hard on that rear foot and it just bites and holds and carves around. And it was really unique.
And Mark's right. It rides different than all the rest of them.
It rides different than the rest of them.
Pro Mag gives you that. At the apex of your turn, it's just it's teeth.
It was really cool. I had to take it I didn't get to ride this for days and days. I had it for about half a day, but I was like, I had to keep kind of going to that same trail and run that same run because I was sort of in disbelief. I'm like, does it really feel this cool?
Yeah. Well, and Canon, if you go a few episodes back too, we have a pro visit with Canon, and he's talking about the way he did the design of it, and that keys into where the Pro Mag is. You know, those little guys, it starts right about here. So you see
there's nothing arbitrary. Like everything's very well thought out. A new silhouette for this year is the straighter tail lines, and I love that. Boards that really curve in a lot there, if you're especially in the powder and
you'll lose it.
Kind of in the back, you can lose it. Yep. And this you can actually really use this last little bit of the tail.
And Canon, he lands switch. Look at any of his footage. I mean, he's throwing down, he's landing switch, he's landing regular. So this is super directional. You're still set back 1.5 inches, but this one will ride switch. Well, with the Pro Mag, it's quite interesting. You feel engaged different, obviously, but you can land, revert, no problems.
Yeah. Everything, no problem. A lot of that is also because of the
C3 camber, which is actually camber under your bindings, rocker in the center, and then it actually rockers out a little bit here and here. So that gives you, when you compress in, the bite here added with Pro Mag. I mean, that's probably even when the bank slalom course is a disaster. He's, Temple's just gripping and ripping.
It makes it easy to ride. It's a cambered board that's really easy to ride. That little bit of rocker in the middle, it doesn't go right to the bottom. So it will not have the feeling of those old disasters of fully rockered boards that people liked for some reason. I never got into it. But
no.
So there's still actually a bit of camber even where it comes in from the to the rocker
I know
point.
it always
doesn't come
throws me off.
It doesn't come right down and make landfall. Like it comes down and then comes back up.
Yeah, no, and that added with this side cut radii, again, tons of stability. So if you're riding groomers, chasing pow at the resort, doing whatever, this one makes the list for that reason.
Yeah.
As with all of the boards today, now we have a sintered, probably sintered graphite or who knows what they're calling it, but it's a sintered black base and it rips. We know that. This one's fast. We've all ridden it. With Mervyn as well, our core materials, and this I wanted to look up, it's aspen and
Polonia.
Exactly. So again, we grabbed all 5+1 of these boards, and they all weigh very similar, It's a light board. I mean, the sidewalls that Mervyn uses too, Cyrilene or
UHMW.
thank you, golf ball skin. I always call it Cyrilene. But they're light, but they are bomb-proof.
Yeah, they're
they
strong.
Are really, really strong.
And they're damp. So the resin that they use in these boards too, which is a bio-based resin, somehow like really damp.
Yeah.
In other words, it doesn't vibrate, it doesn't feel harsh. It absorbs a lot of that. Probably the dampest board in the lineup we have.
And
maybe one
Mervyn's, Gnu's, Libs will end up lending to that. They have a little more, a supple feel to them, so to speak.
C3 helps with that a little bit as well.
Definitely.
The C3, I don't know, a lot of people are like, oh, a lot of people kind of bag on the fact that it's this like intricate camber line, the C3, but it works really well.
Yeah.
I haven't had any issues with it other than enjoying it.
Sublimated graphics, which Mervyn is also known for. Another eco process that is, you get a nice gloss, but they're not using automotive lacquers or things like that. That's just awful. You can see in the light, we can really see it, but it's a triax, so you can see the weave there, the 45s, the 90s. And if you grab this board and like Mark and I kind of twist it, I test a lot of boards like that in the shop, and this one, that thing when you get it on edge. Give them a twist like that. That'll give you a feel for what your board
and then where it's
like.
twisting too.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
A little more chill here, and you can feel the stability on the outside.
I will say, if you're noticing, if you're looking carefully, this is a used. This
one has been.
And I'll tell you why. Because we sold all the other ones. They came in and they were gone. So it's a really popular board here in our area. And everyone loves them. And we actually had to get this one mailed in from
Thank
the
you,
rep.
Sean Cato.
Thank you, Cato.
Yeah, appreciate it. All right, so on to number 4.
Number 4 is the Unink Pick Your Line.
Another board where we had a pro visit, and we were lucky in doing so because I definitely learned a lot about this, and I encourage everybody to go back and watch that one. David is super passionate about what he's doing with this board, the Unink line, everything. The progression of Yes it's awesome, and definitely go check that one out. But how does this not make it in? I mean, especially with the redesign this year. This volume shifted, directional, of course. This is going to be less twinish, much more directional.
Yeah.
DCP took this to baldface. Of course he did.
Yeah.
This would be the board you would take to baldface. But Mark has ridden this way more than me. This board, well, you rode last year's version. You've ridden this year's version.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's lots to talk about here, of course. Yeah, you can shine the light through these things. If I had my cell phone, I'd do so. This tail is probably the most unique thing out of all the boards, right?
Yep.
They've milled out, it's coreless.
Yep.
It's a coreless tail.
So yeah, coreless is sort of in the shape of a swallowtail. So it does make this rear end a little torsionally softer, which is really good for, I know this sounds funny, but a torsionally soft tail lets the nose dive into the fall line faster.
Yeah.
So it actually helps with the initiation of the turn more than you think.
And that's not just powder. That's
and
groomers,
groomers and everything. And it's really light, so light swing weight back in here. There's actually a little section in the tip as well.
Yep, right here.
So this thing, for how of the boards we have here, it's the burliest, which is why I like it. It would be, if I had to pick one, I love all those boards, I'd probably be riding this one.
Yeah.
Just based on my riding style, and I weigh 185 pounds and I like to really push on it, and this board will take it.
Mm-hmm. Well, underbite, let's talk about the underbite. You can see the exaggerations here, and everything has its unique way of edge bite, but this on a groomer, it. But they're subtle enough that there's nothing whipping you around, nothing like that.
They're quite subtle, but they really work. So in order for him to establish taper, and this board has
1.5 a taper.
And they accomplish that by basically having 2 steps down.
Downs,
and then this is really popular and has been for years in the world of surfing. Like, instead of a long gradual taper into something, they have what are called wingers. And it essentially gives 2 more points of like engaging contact. Mm-hmm. And it works. And works really well on on the groomers and such. And in other conditions, it's like, I wouldn't say it's It's never negatively noticeable. It's only ever positively noticeable.
Mix that with the Camrock profile. So
Yep.
this profile is a little different too, and I had to look it up to sort of understand it, but we have camber here, then we rocker out, then we actually have a touch, just a touch more there, and then we rocker here fully.
Yeah.
But that little bit of camber there
Basically, the overall camber
stages itself,
is
right?
just here,
Yeah.
and then everything else starts flaring out. So you get the average of the entire camber from what is happening here.
And mix that with the underbite.
It's different.
Yeah.
It's different.
Well,
For
this
sure,
is why
but
you
boy,
take this to,
I
like,
loved it. The
Yeah.
big thing I like core profiling, and I know the guys that design this, and they get it, and there's lots of good meat out in front of the front binding, which is my biggest sort of if I'm gonna find a weak point in a snowboard, I'm gonna find it right here.
Well, we widen here.
And it's
So
wide
it's
there
volume
too.
shifted too. That's
Yep.
the other thing.
And width is stiffness.
Yeah, yeah.
There's no question about that. You add a half centimeter of width on a similar thickness core, and you've just made that board 25% stiffer.
4 sizes in this, but you are sizing down. You have to. So in Fawcett's case, he'd probably play around. Well, you probably want the 5.7.
Yeah.
But I know David actually took a 5.5 to Baldface.
Yeah,
He wrote
no
smaller.
problem. Oh yeah,
So
they're real deal boards. Yeah, you would move slightly down. I often ride more in the 59 range, and I'd have no problem on the 57. I mean, I'd have fun in the 59 as well.
and that's why they get into the volume squared. And I love seeing that coming from surfing into these boards, because it really does help. You could look at the volume of a 6.1 and be like, well, I love that 6.1 narrow board or whatever it was. It may be the same volume as this guy in a 5.5.
Yep.
So it helps you understand what's kind of working for you under feet.
Yep. Yeah, it's a surface area measurement in decameters.
Yeah. All right. So this one, again, Groomer's POW, doesn't matter.
Does
This board's gonna do
everything really well. And yeah, if you're looking for a heavy hitting board, stronger riders, etc., this one's great.
Done.
And our fifth board from Burton. How do we not do the hometown hero?
There was a lot of discussion this year around this, because I rode the Power Wagon, loved it.
Yeah.
Fozzie rode the Grill Master, loved it. But we didn't ride those. I never got a chance on the Grill Master. You never got a chance on the Power Wagon.
True.
So we had this big debate over those two boards. And then this thing sitting right in front of our face, which all of us ride, Hylas and the shop rides. How do you not do this board? It has a million sizes.
Yeah, million sizes. It's the quintessential quiver killer.
Exactly.
Absolutely. And I mean, you don't even need to. I've ridden a couple different sizes on the same day, and it was like, oh, I would have been fine on either. And it actually, those two boards you talked about earlier, the Power Wagon and the Grill Master, this actually shares a lot of the same tech.
Of course.
So
Yeah.
it was one of the reasons where we're like, yeah, it's got to be this one for one of the top 5 in the all mountain category.
Got to pull up a couple specs here, but tapered directional, of course, and I'll just find out how much taper it was, because I have forgotten. But it has what's unique about this board is it has the twin flex, and it's 12 mils at taper. So it's not like your nose is getting softer like some directional boards are. This one has a really stable nose. So again, when we're talking from groomers to POW, this covers it. You could do a bank slalom. You could take this to Baldface, as everybody does. I know Ben Ferg rides a version of this in a 60, I think, that we've all seen what that guy's doing.
Yeah.
And this is a free ride machine.
It's
and
a free
giving it
ride machine.
all mountain status,
Yeah.
no problem.
So what
there.
you're talking about, squeeze box, and I talk about squeeze box all the time, and I just love it, where the areas that you need it stiff, really stiff, in front of the front foot, behind the back foot, it's thick and stiff there. And in order to make it so that the
profiles
rest of
out,
the board flexes, it skinnies in under the bindings. And again, this is the core profiling, the stiffness rating, and again, in between the feet. So in a sense, it kind of has 3 flex points, and then a few areas where it's really beefy and solid. So that's the squeeze box tech. Love that. The other thing it has, and this is where it shares with the Power Wagon and the Grill Master in particular, is the camber line. So it's a camber, I'd call it like a 2/3 camber.
S rocker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do they still call it S rocker?
I don't know. That's what I still
They
call it.
used to call it S rocker.
What's
I
it
don't
say
think
on
they
there? But directional camber. So the camber's set back, and then
they call it directional camber.
from your front foot, like Fawcett was saying, from the front foot, it starts to take off into the rocker.
It takes off pretty early.
Yeah.
And it's a really flat rocker to start. It doesn't just wing right up there. They did a very good job of that. Like that's one of the details that probably makes this board ride so well, is it's like this really gradual rocker for quite a long ways before it goes up into the nose.
And typical of Burton, you know, we have the channel system, so that'll be the one difference from the others. So that could be one of the points you're keying into.
It's great. Some
depending
people,
on your gear.
yeah, some people want really specific spots. Well, the other thing is you can put your binding super far back on this board if you wanted to in some sort of chest deep powder day, or if you want your like, I need to have 21 and 15/16.
Of course, yeah, there are
stance
those
with.
guys.
Yeah,
Yep.
so you can accomplish that with this board.
Base material, it's a WFO base. If you don't know what that stands for, it's pretty hilarious, but I'm not going to say it on camera. It's fast. It is super fast, as were all of them. Very lightweight. It has the super sap in it for the epoxy.
Yeah.
And this one's a little, you know, most Burtons have that, but this is a little more damp than the average Burton too. I've always found the Hometown Hero to be a little more damp.
In general, Burtons are like crisp.
Quick, snappy sometimes.
And they're like, they feel, they don't buzz, but they feel like hard under my feet. And not in a bad way, but like it's just the overall feeling. Like this is at the opposite end of the spectrum to the Gnu. The Gnus are really damp. And the Burtons, from my perspective, ride a lot more crisp.
Yeah, definitely. And this one leans a little more with, you know, a little damper, in my opinion, than some of the other ones, than some of the family trees were, for sure.
Yep.
Yeah, so I mean, we kind of picked between the three boards, but this one, you know, they make all the sizes we'll put below here. We have a lot of the gals in the shop ride this board, 4.9, 4.6s. This isn't anybody board, like a lot of them will be, but we are going to focus in on the women's line after. We're going to bring Carmen down and make sure we do the women's top 5, because that's definitely a necessity here. But I can't believe how many women we sell this board to.
Yeah.
Sort of 50, 56 and down. It's really
they
common.
do a really good job of, well, giving a million different sizes, but like having those standards, not the W's, in, you know, size specific. They know if you're riding a 146, you're probably not going to have size 10 feet and weigh 185 pounds.
And squeeze box helps the torsional.
Squeeze box helps so much for that on those. And everything's scaled down really well. So like that 146 rides every bit as good as
this is a true
what the
unisex
pros are
snowboard.
using. Yeah.
True unisex snowboard for sure. And we could say that about the Longo, definitely the Twin.
Yeah.
You know, the Yes board would be a bit trickier only because it just doesn't go down to that size range.
And same with the Gnu at the moment, but both those companies have like really good women's product.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. All right. So now we're moving on to number 6.
The +1. So number 6 in our lineup, or the +1, however you want to dice it.
But it's not a plus.
No.
But it's not the plus series.
It's not the plus
series. But it's
series.
+1 for this.
So this is the Korua Otto.
And I mean, this brand is going to end up in every one of my top 5s without question. I've been riding these for 4 years now. Again, back to side cut I talked about before. That's what gets me with Korua, and I'll just start there right away. The way these boards enter, and there's a race pedigree there too, right? With the designers.
Yep, Jerry Niedermeyer from,
Fozzie knows those guys well. Yeah, and that's what gets me with these. And this one too, in particular, this is their most all-mountain of
100%.
all the shapes.
Yep.
You know, without question, almost freestyle shapey for Korua.
Yeah.
But it's still directional.
No taper.
No taper,
and
though,
I'm
which
okay
is
with
crazy.
that.
Yep.
I'm okay with that. The Mountain Twin was the same. No taper, but you can it definitely has the directional abilities, feel, pedigree, if you want to call it. But yeah, like the engineers there, they're so good at blending lines, you know. And this comes from whether it's high performance snowboard racing or even in the surf world is blending those lines is like a huge detail. Korua is super good at it. You never have these like hooky or catchy spots. This thing carves amazing.
That's why I love it.
Amazing.
And this is, I'll use the term S-Rocker again, but this has that same profile as the Hometown Hero.
Yes, it does. It's about, the back 2/3 is cambered and the whole front third of the board is starting to go the other way.
And these are wider.
They are
overall than the Hometown
which
Hero,
I really
and
like.
think which is why I like it too.
Yeah.
So that entry side cut isn't as aggressive. It's quite long and stable. So without having any other tech other than it's a single radii side cut for the most part, right?
Yeah.
But it just gives you massive grip and then a massive exit that's stable.
Yeah.
And I
and that exit comes from not having taper.
Yeah.
Actually, there's something to be said about not having taper. And then they're able to balance the board out. It's definitely directional from a surface area perspective.
And side
we call
cut,
it volume.
or sorry,
but
where they've put the insert
that
too.
too.
You're set right back.
Yeah. So the thing rips in the POW, but it's funny. Korua is known and makes all these like really cool radical directional shapes that people love, like free carving on. And a lot of people get on this and they're like, I think this one's like as good as any of the other ones.
Oh, it is.
And it's not supposed to be, but it's like the thing carves amazing.
It unfortunately, and I say this to pressure them to make more, it only unfortunately comes in 3 sizes.
Yeah.
So hopefully they can expand on that. But like we said before, I've sold a few 5.3s, which I was just checking here, which is this one. Some of the gals end up riding this 5.3. It's been a popular board there too. So we go 5.3, 5.7, and 6.1.
It'd be the waist width that you wouldn't want to be.
Starts to
even
jump
on the
up.
5.3, you don't want to be a human with a really small foot size.
No, because that one we're getting into the waist width there is 5.7 is 26.
Yeah.
And then the 6.1, 26.8. But this guy here, 25.5.
25.5. Not insane, but
And a good width for float.
yep.
Good width for
Definitely,
ride
if
and
you got a
paddle.
size 7.5 or smaller, you're not going to want to be on this one. But everything else, amazing.
And this is one of the Koruas where you can land switch, ride switch.
Oh, you can do do
Like,
everything on this
You're not
board.
necessarily doing it on my pencil. I've done
No,
it, but
no.
this is why this is an all mountain snowboard.
Yep.
And it's not +6 because it was an afterthought. It's just we really had 6 boards upstairs that made perfect sense for this episode.
Yep.
With Korua, made in Poland, we have a biax fiberglass in this one. So it a little more chill torsionally.
Yep.
But with the long side cut, I find that perfection. It works really, really well. The base material, Fozzie, we were just looking it up here. Perlatech base. It's red and it's fast.
And all the Koruas, I mean, if you haven't seen or know much about Korua, they all come with this red base. The snow will glow pink underneath you in certain conditions. It's really cool. And very identifiable that you're on a Korua if you're rocking that red base.
Well, of course, and I really get down with the fact that these guys are making shapes. They're not as concerned. I mean, the top sheets are gorgeous, but this top sheet will be in the line next year. And,
Yes.
And I like that. We see a lot of folks collecting quivers of this brand alone for that reason.
Yep.
But, we brought you a quiver today that, or a quiver killer if you pick one of the 5. But, yeah, you made your pick.
Yeah, I'd ride any one of them. For me, out of the plastic, I'd go with the pick your line.
And I think because I'm a small-footed guy at 150, I'd probably take that Longo. The Longo would be the board. It was so quick edge to edge, but stable like I talked about with this guy. The Longo would have been mine.
Cool.
Yeah, and like I say, we are going to bring Carmen down here soon and go through the boards that the gals have been keying in. All mountain makes the most sense for this one, but we're going to carry into a few more down the road here.
We'll do like a full directional free ride one. And
yeah, I think that's going to be a fun one, and there's some new boards in that tech that
really cool ones.
that are awesome. So we also want to just bring to everybody's attention, last episode we added a little bit of Canadian culture, so to speak, as an Easter egg in it. And if anybody catches it, that's all I'm going to say. But if anybody catches it, leave a comment down below. We'll send you a hoodie, some other goodies. But yeah, we pulled something last time. We'll just see if everybody catches it. And yeah, Fozzie, anything else?
No, it's great. Again, all these boards rip at everything. I don't think you could go wrong with any of them. And it's snowing.
It is. Top 6, under $900 Canadian. Can't really go wrong with any of these. And again, thanks for watching The Lounge. We'll see you guys next time.